Hello and welcome back. Now some people, mostly people with beards and questionable taste in sandals, will tell you the 90s were a bit of a duff decade for cars. They'll drone on about emissions regulations and safety standards, claiming all the fun had been legislated out of existence. Well, I'm here to tell you that those people are, to use a technical term, completely and utterly wrong. The 90s weren't the end of fun, they were a glorious, chaotic explosion of it. It was a decade of automotive madness, a time when engineers were let off their leashes and designers were clearly experimenting with some very interesting substances. This was the decade that gave us some of the most iconic, most bonkers, and in some cases most catastrophically brilliant machines ever to grace four wheels. We saw the birth of the hypercar, the rise of the Japanese performance legends, and the Americans deciding that what every family really needed was a 7-liter V8 and the aerodynamic properties of a bungalow. It was a time of unbridled optimism and horsepower, a final magnificent hurrah before everything became sensible and electric and, let's be honest, a bit boring. So, in this part 3 of our epic journey through the coolest cars of the 1990s, we're digging even deeper. We're unearthing some forgotten heroes, some magnificent oddballs, and some cars so cool they could give a polar bear hypothermia. Forget your beige modern crossovers for a moment. Buckle up, because we're about to dive headfirst back into the glorious, unapologetic, and frankly brilliant world of 90s motoring. And believe me, it's going to be excellent. In the 90s, American trucks were just boxes. Then Dodge unleashed this thing, a mini 18-wheeler, brilliant. They took a small truck, shoved a massive 5.9-liter Magnum V8 in it. Utterly pointless, and therefore perfect. This was Mazda's homologation special, a tiny, turbocharged, four-wheel drive monster built to conquer the world's rally stages. Look at it, it's a pickup truck with a permanent hat, a wonderfully practical and honestly bizarre Japanese creation. Toyota looked at their Hilux pickup and thought, let's make it look like it's from 1936. Mad. This little Toyota had butterfly doors. Gordon Murray saw them and thought, yes, for my McLaren F1. So, it's a concept car that escaped from the motor show floor, a brilliant plastic-clad off-roading space pod. This was actually a Honda Accord in a cheap suit, a prime example of Japanese badge engineering. The Screaming Chicken's last great hurrah, a thumping V8, pop-up headlights, and absolutely zero subtlety. Glorious. For a moment, Pontiac made a front-wheel drive coupe that didn't look entirely dreadful. It was, honestly, surprisingly handsome. The final year for the original luxury SUV, it had wood on the outside. Wood! Absolutely magnificent. They took a normal Wrangler and gave it the most absurd fiberglass body kit known to man. The Peugeot 406 was a simple, elegant, and comfortable French saloon. It was handsome, drove beautifully, and, well, it wasn't German. That's important. No radio, no electric windows, no point, just a tiny engine that loved to be thrashed. Superb. This car landed from another planet, a Bauhaus design masterpiece that completely changed everyone's perception of Audi. The Audi RS2 Avant from 1994, well, it was an estate car engineered by Porsche. And get this, it could actually out-accelerate a McLaren F1 to 30 miles per hour. Utterly bonkers if you ask me. Also, famous car YouTuber own and used to own fine German masterpiece of a vehicle. The Hyundai dynasty from 1997 was basically Korea's answer to a Mercedes S-Class. It was this giant plush barge made for important South Korean businessmen. Pretty impressive, honestly. So, when the dynasty just wasn't quite enough, Hyundai and Mitsubishi teamed up to build the Equus, an even bigger flagship limousine. Now that's taking luxury up a notch. Down in Australia, this was their version of the Mazda Proceed Marvi, a rugged two-door ute-based SUV. based on a Fiesta, but it handled with the sort of magic only Ford of Europe can conjure. If you wanted to cross a continent with no roads, you bought one of these, indestructible. So, here's a car that really flew under the radar. An affordable, unassuming coupe, but with a truly brilliant engine under the hood and, get this, independent rear suspension. It's the kind of machine that surprises everyone on the street. A true sleeper hero, if you ask me. The two-door, short-wheelbase version of the big SUV. It was simpler, sportier, and just plain cooler. Before SUVs took over, if you had a massive family, you got one of these, a van. This is a Chevrolet Blazer, but assembled and sold in Indonesia with an Opel badge. Curious, isn't it? And there you have it. Another 25 reasons why the 90s were far from an automotive wasteland. From rugged Australian off-roaders and bizarre Japanese domestic market creations, to French hot hatches with the heart of a lion and American muscle that refused to die. This decade was a melting pot of ideas, a time when a car company could look at a pickup truck and say, you know what that needs? The front end of a lorry, and people would actually buy it. It was a time of genuine variety and character. You had cars built with a singular glorious purpose, whether that was to win a rally, cross a desert, or simply to look like it had driven through a wormhole from the 1930s. They weren't all perfect, some were deeply flawed, some were just plain weird, but none of them were boring. They had personality, they had soul. These were cars that made you feel something, even if that something was mild confusion. They were designed by people, not by committees and algorithms. So as we wrap up this leg of our journey, remember these magnificent machines. They represent a kind of freedom and creativity that's becoming rarer by the day. They are a testament to a time when why not was a more powerful question in a design studio than why, and for that we should be eternally grateful. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.